Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Magic in the Midwest podcast. This is podcast number 23. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Sandberg. Ryan, is that? Ryan Sandberg. Why are you distracting me? I'm in the middle of starting this podcast. Jeez. Ryan Sandberg, Michael Jordan. Yes, Magic in the Midwest podcast hails from the Midwest, where those great athletes played. That's right. All Hall of Famers, all legends here in the Midwest. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am J.B. Michaels, USA Today best-selling author of many books, one of which just came out not that long ago, The Horde, by J.B. Michaels, Chronicles of the Order, Book 6. There'll be more announcements with new books and new collections coming up soon. Check out MrMichaels.com, M-I-S-T-E-R, Michaels.com for a free book. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we love to thank our Bandcamp subscribers. So please check out magicinthemidwestpodcast.bandcamp.com. And saving the best for last, my co-host, Ashley Michaels. Say hello, Ashley.
Whatever.
She's saying whatever. I don't know what that means. Okay.
It doesn't make any sense to thank the Bandcamp subscribers and then introduce me. It's like I'm not a part of that. You should introduce yourself, introduce me, and then thank everyone. And not be a giant idiot.
You heard it here, folks. It's going to be a good podcast today. Real good.
And when I try to jump in...
Someone is very severe this morning.
Do not... just talk louder. It will not bode well for you.
Severe.
During the rest of the podcast if that continues to happen.
Severe. Okay, so ladies and gents, we've had more than one.
Turn your phone off.
We've had more than... See, it's severe already.
Stop texting
We've
people.
had multiple people give us some suggestions for topics. Mm-hmm. Remember, we do our main line, like we go through the parks and our other podcasts and the resorts. Kind of give our reviews of those and give our experiences in those areas. And then the alternate podcast, which is today's podcast, number 23. Sorry, I'm dying. We talk about some special topic. And we thought today, since we've had multiple people ask for this, who are Bandcamp subscribers, so thank you very much, they've asked for a transportation episode. So how do you get around the Walt Disney World Resort, which, by the way, it's Labor Day weekend, and apparently the parks are getting a jolt of people.
Yeah. Busy.
Yeah, the waits are like up to 45 minutes to an hour, which they haven't been for a very long time. So that's pretty cool. So yes, we thought we would start today with the Walt Disney World transportation. We're kind of going to go around and give you all the options that you have, and all the options to the different parks that you have, and then also possibly options from the different resorts that you can stay in. The pluses and minuses to both, and we'll go into that. So right now we're going to talk about Magic Kingdom. Okay, so if you're somebody that's driving to the Magic Kingdom and parking in the parking lot, how do you get to the Magic Kingdom?
I don't know.
Oh boy. Whoa.
I've never had to do that.
Good start. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm getting the worst, dirtiest look ever. If this was on YouTube, you would see it.
I don't know. What do you mean? How would we get there? Like, drive to the parking lot and park? I don't know.
Yeah, then what happens?
I don't know. I've never had to do that, so...
Okay, so...
Why would you ask me a question I didn't know the answer to?
I just thought maybe you would know.
Why would I know that?
Because you do your podcast, you're a Disney podcaster. Thought maybe you would know. But you don't. You don't. She's gonna kill me.
Not had enough coffee today.
She's gonna kill me. Don't blame it on me.
Oh yeah. No,
All right. So basically,
this is not how I wanted to organize this episode, but continue on.
You would park, get on the tram.
The creator.
You go from the tram to the Transportation and Ticket Center, and from the Transportation and Ticket Center, how do you get to the park?
Oh, so you can't even park? Like, there's not in a Magic Kingdom like parking lot?
No, there is, but you can't get, like, it's not like right next to the Magic Kingdom.
So it's just at the Transportation and Ticket Center? That's the parking lot?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then you get on the monorail.
Or
I don't know.
a ferry.
Okay, well, why don't you just take over rather than quizzing me if you know the answers?
I thought maybe you do. Or you could take a ferry over to the Magic Kingdom. Okay, so a big boat. Or you can, effectively, you could actually you could walk from the Transportation Ticket Center because they're opening up a walkway from the Grand Floridian to the Magic Kingdom.
Right, and you can walk from the Polynesian to the Grand Floridian.
Yes.
And then, it'd be a long walk.
It'd be a long walk. It would be not
but
be
you
worth
could do it.
the time. If you wanted to, exercise before getting into the park.
And
you
doing
could.
more exercise.
And doing more exercise. You could. Yeah, or you could hop on the monorail, of course. Or you could take a bus. Or you could actually take, and this is a flat rate for everything, but except for there's a higher price to go to the airport. But Disney now offers their own rideshare service called minivans.
Mm-hmm, which aren't vans.
They're more like SUVs. But yeah, you could take a minivan anywhere you want for $25. Actually, I think it's 30 now, isn't it? Isn't it 30
they're
now?
probably going to keep upping. I thought it was still 25, but
maybe it's
I don't
still
know.
25. Okay, but
let me Google it.
You could take a minivan wherever you want in the park. So that is one thing. If you want to avoid everything, and if you've got the cash, you could just take minivans all around Walt Disney World property if you want. Okay? So that is if you're driving up to the Magic Kingdom. And then, of course, when you leave Magic Kingdom for the day, you could, again, get on the ferry, or you could get on the monorail and go right back to the Transportation and Ticket Center. So that is if you're driving to Magic Kingdom. Now, Ash and I are going to go, we're starting with our typical, Disney trip. So for us, we like to go, we take a flight, obviously, like we've talked about in the past. We take Southwest from Chicago Midway, and we take Southwest down to Orlando, which is a very, very popular route.
Yes, it's always a full flight.
Right, it's always
jammed.
Yeah, jam-packed. But before we do that, we set up with Disney. We actually always just kind of have someone at Disney do it for us because the form is crazy long, and we've talked about it.
That's a tip you should always call.
Yeah, just have them do it.
Instead of filling it out.
Yeah, and then you get on the Magical Express when you get to the airport. Actually, it's funny. It's down in the B terminal. And you just walk over there, and you've got your Magical Express reservation, and they put you in a line that goes specifically to a bus that will take you, a coach bus, that will take you to your resort area. Now, typically what happens, if you're on a Magical Express, the Magical Express will bring you to at least 3 to 4 resorts. Now, depending on where you are staying, you might be on the bus a little bit longer than other people. If you're like the last stop, you might be, there a little later. For example, if you're going to Magic Kingdom resorts, well, they're going to drop you off at Wilderness Lodge, Polynesian, and I think Grand Floridian. And then, the Contemporary too. So I think it goes Contemporary, Wilderness Lodge, Polynesian, Grand Floridian, but I'm sure they change their routes every day.
Yeah, so if you're the Grand Floridian stop, you might be on the bus for like an hour.
Right.
It just depends.
Right.
So
the Magical Express is awesome. It's exciting. It's the first part of your Disney experience when you're coming from the airport. There's, of course, the video they have on the coach bus that gives you little quizzes, shows you cartoons, classic Disney cartoons, Donald cartoons, which are our favorite. We love Donald. then you just have fun. We took, it's good to take a picture on the Magical Express. That first Magical Express ride is always the best.
Did
and
you already
most
talk
exciting.
about the luggage? That?
No, I didn't talk about the luggage. Tell us.
No, you tell us.
Oh, okay, I guess you're the boss, honey. So yeah, you want to put your luggage tags on your bigger suitcases. And the bigger suitcases will be put in your room. So you do not have to go to baggage claim. Disney will take care of it. You'll get, the Magical Express will send you those tickets, baggage stickers before you leave, and you put them on the bags you want the Magical Express to get. And they will
And you
literally...
have to check those bags. They can't be a carry-on.
Yeah, you check them in. Because obviously the carry-ons you could take wherever you want. But...
And another little tip off of that is that, those bags are usually, I forget what the exact ruling is, but those checked bags that the Magical Express takes care of for you are supposed to be in your room. Is it by a certain time, or is it like 4 hours after? It's
usually, they say 4 to 6 hours.
Now, we've always gotten them
4.
pretty early, but last time they were a little bit delayed due to weather. So always pack everything you need, whether that's like medication or, a change of clothes in your carry-on, because sometimes, things can get delayed. And we went almost... I feel like it was like most of the day without that luggage.
We actually, that
was the first time we'd experienced that.
A pretty rough
last time.
Yeah, we had a rough. I'll be honest. The very last trip last year, where we stayed at the boardwalk, we kind of had a rough Magical Express experience. We had a rough first couple of days to our trip. We've already talked about it. Like we tried doing magic early morning magic hours. We tried doing that. Twice, and it burned us twice. The amount of people that were in the parks was insane. Things were blocked off. It was nuts. It was crazy. I actually did reach out to Disney. Both. Then the person I talked to about our baggage, even the first day, was really, oddly enough. I mean, this is not always the case, but extremely rude to me. Mm-hmm. And I was just asking about my luggage. Like I was not rude. I was being actually pretty nice. I trusted Disney to, with my bags. And we were worried. Like, we thought our bags got lost because it was taking a long time.
It was way past the window, I think. I mean, we were past the window that they told us. And, obviously there's going to be hiccups and things are going to happen. That's just how it goes. But we called just to inquire, right? Because you never know, were the bags lost? Were they taken to another resort? We just wanted to check on it. And we were met with a very... rude tone, and we were told we should have packed everything we needed in our whatever, and we're like, we get it, we just wanted to check on it.
It was
because we also have a common last name, so that's something too where you're like, it's not like our name is super weird or whatever, it could have been taken to the wrong place or whatever, but that shouldn't be how someone answers the phone or talks to you when you're just, asking and inquiring and, just double checking something.
We're gonna talk about that a little more in depth probably in another podcast. But yeah, sometimes that was a hiccup. I mean, I honestly, most of the time, the vast majority of the time that I've used Magical Express, it went without a hitch.
Every time you and I have used it together, besides that, we always would come back from the pool or wherever we went, and there they would be.
Right. I think there's some weird things that have been happening, Disney, and we won't go into this too much, but I'll just say one thing about it. Disney has spent a lot of money. They've done a lot of merging. They've done a lot of expensive things.
I think they're cutting back on things.
And Disney World, the Disney parks in Orlando, are the ones that pay for most everything. So, and that means that, maybe some cutbacks here and there, maybe some multiple more stops on a bus route that there used to be, so there's some interesting things that happen.
If a new park is being built in a different part of the world,
Shanghai,
and things are, costing more than they anticipate, a lot of times you'll see that on the other end. In Disney World, something
always
being nickel and dimed.
Always foots the
so
bill.
when something goes up or there's some sort of extra cost added to something, usually they're trying to make up the difference at Disney World.
Yeah, because it's the engine, right? So All right, so that we won't go too far. This is this is about transportation, but yeah. So Magical Express, honestly, for the most part, is wonderful, and you should definitely use it, especially if you're staying at a Disney resort and you're going there via air travel. It is very important. I think you should do it.
Something to note now, too, if you are doing Magical Express, obviously you're staying at a Disney Resort Hotel. They want you to have your Magic Band out and on your wrist, and you scan to get into your, line.
Yeah,
so sometimes I think people that go for the first time, maybe wouldn't have their Magic Bands out, or maybe they would be in a checked bag or something.
Yeah.
So
strange. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting thing, right?
So have that out. Right?
Yeah, have that ready to go. And and it makes sense for Disney to do Magical Express, right? They encourage you not to rent a car and go to the other parks like Universal or SeaWorld. They want you to come to Disney and stay at Disney and stay on Disney property and stay in the ecosystem.
And you can still go to isn't there a bus to
you
Universal?
can still do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it makes sense, right? It's like, oh, well, I don't want to rent a car. Like you're more apt to probably do more things.
Here.
Yeah, it's smart for them to do that, So, yeah, all right. So that was weird. There's strange things
Computer's
happening.
glitchy.
Strange things happening. All right. So then, all right, Ash. So after we get back to the Magic Kingdom, we got on the Magical Express. We get to our resort. Let's just say we're staying at Bay Lake. What are the options for us to get to parks?
Well, if you're wanting to go to Magic Kingdom, one of the best perks of staying at Contemporary or Bay Lake is being able to walk to the Magic Kingdom, to and from, which I think is huge. So obviously you can also take the monorail. If you take the monorail, though, you are the first stop on the way back from the Magic Kingdom. If you're headed to the Magic Kingdom, you're obviously going to go through the Ticket and Transportation Center, Polynesian, Grand Floridian, and then the Magic Kingdom, which it's really not that much, but I mean, you're not going to be one stop and done.
Yes.
It is nice at the end of the night because you're just hop
the
on
first
and
one.
You're there.
Yeah.
So that's an option. And then you can still take a bus to the Magic Kingdom if you would choose to do that. So, for me, I love walking. I feel like it's not a very long walk at all. And I think that's really nice, especially at the end of the night, because you don't have to wait. A lot of times the monorail line, especially if you leave right after the fireworks, or bus lines will be a little bit longer. The fact that you can kind of just take your time and stroll home
it's great.
Is a really nice advantage to staying at Bay Lake or Contemporary. So yes.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's a really big perk. And of course, to get to all the other parks, like that, you're just talking about Magic Kingdom.
Just Magic Kingdom.
But if you're getting to all the other parks, you've got to get on a bus or take a minivan.
Except for Epcot, you could take the monorail.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could take the monorail to the Transportation Ticket Center, get off that monorail, get on the Epcot monorail. And remember, you got to get off. It's not like there's no express monorail to Epcot from.
You have to switch tracks.
Got to switch tracks. So you got to go there, and then you could take the monorail. So any pretty much besides. Pretty much anything is the same. I mean, now that there's going to be a walkway, from Grand Floridian, anything is really the same.
Same choices from there.
Right.
Except for Polynesian. Are there different choices from the Polynesian? Obviously,
no
different.
You could take a boat.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, you could take a smaller boat and get over to. You could take a resort, boat over to the Magic Kingdom, to Grand Floridian and Polynesian as well. And obviously Wilderness Lodge, you could take a boat as well, to the Magic Kingdom. But
One
you
thing
got to
I would say about Polynesian, something that we did a few years ago was instead of getting on the Magic Kingdom, like the regular monorail line from the Polynesian, you could just, depending on what side of the resort you're on, just walk over to the Transportation and Ticket Center.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah, it's right
and
there.
And then just get on the Epcot monorail.
Yeah, you don't have to go around the whole thing.
You don't have to do, the Polynesian and then go around
silly.
the whole thing because it's
silly.
right there. But some people might not know that.
Right.
You can
definitely
walk
just,
right there.
if you're staying at the Poly, to get to Epcot, just walk over to the Transportation and Ticket Center.
Yep, because it's right there.
Yeah, it's literally right behind it. Also, some interesting things to note as far as transportation. The other Magic Kingdom resort which is for Wilderness Lodge, okay, Copper Creek and Boulder Ridge, and then Wilderness Lodge. You can take a boat to the Magic Kingdom, but you have to take a bus everywhere else. It's the only Magic Kingdom resort that doesn't have the monorail going to it. Mm-hmm. So you've got to make sure, right? You've got to make sure you know that. Right?
I really wish they would have expanded it for that, because I think that's a huge disadvantage about that hotel, that it costs. It's a deluxe resort in the Magic Kingdom area, and you don't have that advantage.
You know what they could have done? They could have done it was probably very expensive, but they could have done some sort of like people mover type of thing to the transportation and ticket center from the Wilderness Lodge, and Fort Wilderness, right? The same thing, Wilderness Campground. That's one disadvantage. It's a Magic Kingdom resort, but it's also not a monorail resort.
But it doesn't feel like it sometimes to me for that reason. I don't know. That's just me though.
Yeah. But it is. I mean, it's well done. Because it is sort of when you're in the resort, you don't really see anything but wilderness. Mm-hmm. So that's purposeful, right? I mean, it's the Wilderness Lodge, it's supposed to be like that, but so that's an interesting thought, right? It's an interesting little anecdote when it comes to the Magic Kingdom resorts. Okay, so then obviously, if you want to get to Studios or Animal Kingdom on a Magic Kingdom resort, you've got to take the bus.
Yep.
No matter what, you've got to take the bus or a minivan.
Yeah.
So those are some of the interesting things that you realize. People, if you pick the right Disney resort, your transportation options open up. More. Like it depends on where you're staying.
Well, and a lot of times, now this is all, it depends more, but you're going to usually end up paying more for those resorts where you have those perks and those benefits to have multiple modes of transportation. Right. I think that the monorail is just a lot easier than the buses.
Yeah.
The buses have started to irritate me lately, but just because they're just, the capacity is not super great, and it used to be that the buses would have one resort that they would stop at. So let's say it was the Polynesian that was going to Magic Kingdom, it would just be Polynesian, Magic Kingdom, Polynesian, Magic Kingdom, going back and forth.
Yeah.
And now that they have grouped all those buses together to go to the Contemporary, Polynesian, maybe Wilderness Lodge, and Grand Floridian to Magic Kingdom. So you have to budget out a little bit more time. You could be on the bus for a long time.
Well,
and wait for the bus for a long time. Like one time we waited at Wilderness Lodge. We were trying to go to Hollywood Studios, and it took us an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because we just missed the bus, and then I don't know if it just was running late or what happened, and then we were the first ones picked up, and we went to all these different resorts, and it just took forever.
Yeah.
Something to think about if you have, dining reservations, that type of thing. If you're running late, it might be worth it to get one of those minivans,
right?
In a certain situation. So something to think about. And I would be, I think it obviously by doing that, you're also making it seem, more appealing to rent a minivan. You know what I mean? Now that the buses are sort of grouped together.
The most egregious, what Ash is talking about, I think the most egregious example of this is the water park bus routes. They're ridiculous. It one time took us an hour and a half on a bus to get back to the boardwalk from Typhoon Lagoon.
We were at Typhoon Lagoon. Yeah. And we ended up getting off at the yacht club or beach club and walked back to the boardwalk, even though we probably would have been the next stop because we were just so sick of being on the bus. Remember, we walked through those lobbies.
We walked from the beach club and we were just that's it. Let's just get off here because I do not want to be on this bus anymore. Unfortunately, the bus systems, that's where they cut back a lot because, not a ton of people, I guess, the water parks are popular, but they're not the most, the parks are obviously more busy and they have bigger capacities. But man, that's the one. So if you're going to a water park and you're not near a water park, like most of the water parks are kind of by like the Animal Kingdom resort area. Blizzard Beach is really close to Animal Kingdom. Typhoon Lagoon is not that far either. They're kind of, so if you're staying near an Animal Kingdom type resort, then you're probably not not getting, it's not going to take you as long. But man, they stack the deck.
Well, I
those.
think
Like
they stack the deck with those, but I also think they're
forever.
stacking the deck with everything else, which with the bus system, which is why I get a little bit more irritated with the bus system. I just think it's taking longer and longer. The more the years go on, they just try and combine as many routes as possible. So for me, now I value this more than JB does, but when I think about where we want to stay, I a lot of times could happily stay in the same few places because of the perks they offer transportation-wise.
Yeah.
Because for me, time is money at Disney. I'm a numbers person, and that's just how I think. Not everyone thinks that way.
Yeah.
We also vacation in a certain way, and that we kind of like to take a break in the middle of the day, and we do use park hoppers a lot of times. So being able to get back and forth, at least to a few of the parks, like at some point you're going to be on a bus or you're going to have to do a transportation mode that you don't prefer.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have this preferred way of getting to a park for at least one of the parks. Like, for instance, if you stay at Bay Lake, you have that option to walk or get on the monorail, and that's nice. I would really love to stay at Animal Kingdom, like the resorts over there.
Animal Kingdom Lodge.
And we have friends that love it, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I'm getting on a bus to go everywhere, and besides going to Animal Kingdom, I'm going to be on the bus for a long time.
Yeah, because...
And that doesn't sound appealing to me, so every time I want to stay there, I'm like, but I really don't want to deal with that.
Right, well, here's the thing. Oddly enough, too, we're talking about the most popular resort area. The most filled resort area is Animal Kingdom Resort area, because we're talking about Pop Century, the All-Star Resorts, Art of Animation. All of them are sort of clumped together, and then Animal Kingdom Lodge is,
Yeah, but at
closer to
least
there,
now,
too.
Animal Kingdom Lodge itself doesn't really have access to the Skyliner,
No,
does it?
no.
But I mean, and that's a deluxe resort, and then these other resorts that are value resorts or moderates have access to the Skyliner.
Yeah.
So I feel like Animal Kingdom Lodge is out there, and it's supposedly, beautiful, and the dining is top rated, and it would be really awesome to stay there. But I think at the same time, I would probably want to split my stay and say, let's stay there for a few days and then move to another
see how
resort.
it is, and then good. Because you are isolated and you are getting on a bus everywhere. But again, it does promote getting in a minivan.
Yeah.
If
I
you're
feel like they're really pushing it. When they first came out with the first fleet of minivans, they've increased, they have so many more now because people are using them. Mm-hmm. And I think we've talked about this too, that, they know, Disney has surveys and knows how much, household incomes are and stuff. I mean, that's
sad.
all a factor.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of the people going to Disney now, not vast majority, like over 90% is...
The 30% of the population?
It's like, it's some crazy
something
thing like
20%,
that,
top 20% of the population.
Which I hope
in
it doesn't
income level.
continue to move in that direction. Walt always wanted everyone to be able to go to
Right.
Disney.
Right.
But, not to get off on a different
let's
tangent.
not get off on
but, some people don't mind that. And some people do. It just depends on how you like to vacation, where you like to stay, and things you do and don't mind. We're all different.
Yeah.
So we will stay there one day. But I think we should talk more about the Skyliner. I mean, we haven't used it, but that's something that they added.
Well, your brother has. He didn't seem that impressed, but he. Well,
he liked it. He also. So they were there in January. So obviously it's
Cooler
weather. And I asked him. I said, if it were 95 degrees outside in the middle of June, is that something that you would want to do, knowing that those are not air conditioned? And he was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No hesitation.
Right.
People that have been on them in the summer might tell you differently. I don't know.
People have been out of the summer say that you do get airflow, so it does help.
See, but I just worry about it stopping and getting
if you're stopped, I don't know how you're there's a first aid kit
because
there.
you're just suspended.
Right.
So I just would be like, I don't know.
Right. So so it's interesting. So we have the Magic Kingdom Resort area. Now let's head over. Yeah, we should talk about the Skyliner. And Epcot Resort area is where the Skyliner kicks in. So again, we've stayed last time. Obviously, we talked about this. We stayed at the boardwalk. So that's good. But the Skyliner is well, let's talk about the boardwalk real quick. With the boardwalk, it's actually a unique situation. So the boardwalk, Swan, Dolphin, Yacht Club, and Beach Club, all of those resorts, you can walk to the studios. You can walk to Epcot.
I mean, that's huge. I love that.
Yeah, you can walk to both two parks. And you can take a boat, which I don't recommend. The boats kind of take a long time.
They take forever.
The boats.
I mean, if you want to spare the walking and you are not in a rush, then taking the boat is fine. But we had a situation multiple times where we were the first one picked up and the last one's dropped off.
Right.
So I was
That
like,
didn't
wait a
make
minute,
sense.
that doesn't make any sense.
No.
You should either you're waiting longer on the way there or you're waiting longer on the way back,
And
but
those
not
boats
both.
take forever to stop
do.
and dock.
They were
and-
the bigger
oh, boy.
boats. Yeah. So not a huge. If you're trying to get somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah,
I would recommend
I don't know if I would do that. Obviously, also you could take the only other option for you is take the bus to Magic Kingdom or not Epcot, but Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom. Technically, if you want a long walk, you could walk through Epcot from the boardwalk and get on the monorail and go to Magic Kingdom. If
Yeah,
you
but
want.
you would have to have a park hopper to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's silly to do
Yeah.
that. But yeah, you can take a bus, the boats to Magic Kingdom or Epcot, or like we said, you could just walk to Studios or Epcot. The unique situation about those resorts is that it almost feels like its own insular resort, and many people only stay at the boardwalk, or Yacht Club and Beach Club. Like that's their Disney experience, right? Which is great. That's the cool thing about Disney is that there's Disney World is that there's a multitude of experiences you can have over multiple years. You can do lots of different things.
It's a totally different vacation to stay in a different resort area, like the Epcot resort area versus Magic Kingdom. It's just a different feel.
Yeah, we walked back from Studios to the boardwalk, and it was a really short walk. Actually, it was shorter than I thought. Shorter than I thought it was. So that was pretty cool. We got right back there. But we also were on the DVC side of the boardwalk, which is a little closer to Studios.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah, so it does. It does make a difference. It is closer to Studios. And then, of course, the Skyliner drops off at the International Gateway. There's a station there that gets you the Skyliner to Epcot. And the Skyliner serves the Riviera, Caribbean, Art of Animation, Pop Century, like it serves all those resorts that way. And then of course you could take the Skyliner to and fro. People seem to like the Skyliner. They go on it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
They do.
And I mean, to them, it's for many people, it's like another attraction, right? Getting on the Skyliner. I for one, I like the Skyliner. Characters and things like that on the Skyliners, but there are people that complain about that because the ones that have the characters on them, you can't see out the window as much.
Oh, so the actual
from the
riding
inside
experience isn't as
of the Skyliner.
nice, yeah.
But I don't know, keep them. I don't care. Keep them.
Yeah.
I say keep them. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing. Skyliner is an option there in that Epcot boardwalk area, which we can't speak to. We literally our last trip was interesting. Our last trip was there were big things opening right after we would leave. Galaxy's Edge opened right after we left, and then the Skyliner opened right after we left. So we really didn't get to experience those things yet, but we will. Obviously. But yeah, so interesting enough. Those are, so Epcot, the boardwalk resort area, has a lot of different options for you. As far as getting around the world. Here's an interesting thing though. So because of the Epcot resort area, the Epcot resort area was the very first moderate resort was built there. It's the Caribbean. The Caribbean is really close to Epcot, like very close to Epcot. Now, here's an interesting thing about the Caribbean. There is no other way besides a minivan, okay? Or you got to take a minivan and pay the money to get on that minivan, or you take buses everywhere. Now, the way Disney did their moderate resorts was they made them sort of these big, sprawling resorts, and had sections of each resort. And the Caribbean is set up in different islands. So you've got like Trinidad 1, Trinidad 2. You have Barbados. You've got Jamaica. You've got so you're spread around this big resort. Mm-hmm. So that leads you to Port Orleans. Riverside is like that as well. That leads you to being on the bus a little bit longer too, because depending on where you're at in the resort, you're on that bus longer. Yeah. So you could be the second to last.
Saratoga's like that too.
Yeah, Saratoga Springs is like that as well.
There's like 6 bus stops just within one resort.
Old Key West is like that too. So you again, budget your time a little bit. If you're staying at one of those moderate resorts and you want to take Disney transportation, which you absolutely should. I mean, you really should. No.
Yeah, meaning like no, you wasn't saying no, we're not saying it's bad.
No,
like, you should absolutely use it. It's free, and you know what?
Well, it's not free. You're probably paying for it, but
you know what I mean. It's included.
It is free. It's
included in your price. But it's a great way to get around Disney property, and
Yeah,
Everyone has their own preferred way. Like some people like the boats more, or like this, or like that. Everyone has things that they like more.
Right. So it's a great, whatever. But the moderate resorts are awesome, and the valley resorts is the same type of thing. Really, you just gotta get on a bus. And at Art of Animation, there's only one bus stop.
See, and that's and I know it's. Part of me wonders it's part of the way that it's built, its positioning, adding more bus stops because of how it's positioned next to the water there would have been difficult. But, your parents stayed there, and your sister and our niece, and... you're
talking about Art of Animation?
Art of Animation, and they were just really far away from the bus stop. So even just walking to the bus stop was like a chore. Yeah. And then you're waiting, and then, then you have to get on the bus and go to 12 different places.
And Art of Animation has those double buses, those really long buses.
Okay.
Because they have one bus stop.
Yeah.
So they have these giant double buses, which is fine. But it's interesting that, like, instead of doing the multiple bus stop thing, then they just were like, oh, screw it, we'll just make one big bus stop.
Art of Animation is sprawling, too.
It is.
And there's, so if you're staying all the way at the other end, it's a long hike.
Now, here's the other thing, you guys. The Skyliner only gets you to 2 resorts. It only gets you to Epcot, and it only gets you to Studios. Mm-hmm. So, yes. So it does help people stay at Art of Animation and Pop Century, right? And All Stars. It does, not All Stars, but it does help you.
Yeah.
Right? It does actually help. So you can take a different form of transportation besides just the bus.
So this is what I think. I think the buses,
Caribbean too,
in general, in my experience, can be the most frustrating.
Yeah. And
can take the longest, depending. Sometimes you'll hit right at the right time, get picked up, and go right to your stop. And that's awesome when it works out. But I think the buses are hard because you're tired and you're crabby and it's hot, most of the time.
Buses are not hot, though.
No, the buses aren't hot. But
yeah.
You know what I'm saying. So I think even if you're staying somewhere where you have an option to take a boat or the monorail or walk to one or even just one, resorts, but 2 resorts, then it kind of offsets how much bus time you are taking. And that makes a big difference because you'll notice, like, next time you're there, if you look at what time it is when you leave your room and, and then by the time you're actually walking into a park, it can be, much later. Yeah. Which is why when we talk about, getting in the morning for rope drop or, it's harder than it seems. People want to sleep in, but really if you want to get there on time, you're not rolling out of bed 15 minutes before the park opens. Yeah. You got to get there.
Well, and now Disney has added over the last couple of years, they've added like times when your bus will arrive. So that's cool. They never used to have that. So there are screens now at each bus stop.
So you can kind of see.
That tell you, like, okay, so the bus is going to be here in 15 minutes. Great. And usually it's right.
Usually it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps knowing. I think being able to see it, it just makes it feel like you're not waiting as long.
Right. So it is one of those things where, listen, here's a tip, a pro tip. If you want to stay to moderate, stay at Port Orleans French Quarter.
And why is that?
Because there's one bus. And the resort is not that big.
But what he means by one bus is usually the bus is dedicated just to French Quarter, and it goes to whatever park you're going to and back. Into the park and the back. It's not stopping at 12 other resorts.
Right. Honestly, unless I'll be honest, someone email us or text us or something if we're wrong.
And it's just the way that they're set up. They change the routes and determine what goes
maybe they could drop off at Port Orleans, Riverside.
Well, the thing is, that's how it used to be for every resort. It was like Polynesian here, Polynesian here, Polynesian here.
Right,
it wasn't, contemporary Polynesian, Wilderness Lodge, and Grand Floridian all being picked up, then heading to the park.
Yeah, it's weird. You get on the bus, and your mentality is, you're excited to get to the park. You got a fast pass soon. You're very excited. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. And then you're like, oh, no, we're stopping at a resort. It just, lets you down. You're just like, oh.
And then you stop at another resort.
We stop. And then you stop at another resort.
Then you stop at a resort that has, 6 different locations to pick up people. So then you drive into that resort and pick up someone here, and then around.
Right. So, listen, it's awesome to be able to get on a bus and get to everywhere you need to be for, basically it's included and it's great. And but it's better than not having the option to have a bus.
Budget time,
yeah.
As if you're someone that goes all the time, that. But no matter what mode of transportation you're using, it's going to take you a while.
And I will tell you this, All-Star Music and All-Star Sports especially, if you're staying at All-Star Sports, usually there's big band, teenage
we should
high
go
school,
through the different value, moderate, deluxe, and talk about if you feel like there are some that you prefer over others for whatever reason. We should do that. So you should talk. You know what I mean, the All Stars.
Oh yeah, okay. So
what you're doing.
I would stay. If you're staying at All Star, people, All Star movies, I'd say would probably be the best. Out of those cool themes, secret menu at the
good dining,
quick
people
service
like the
options.
Quick service
There's a secret
there.
menu. Ask for the secret menu.
And is that the one where you're pretty close to
Animal Kingdom?
Yeah, no, but
very
another
close
resort that's bigger. That's not that's
Animal
not an
Kingdom
All-Stars.
Lodge, probably.
No, I don't know. I'm thinking of something else. Continue on.
All right. Okay.
So if you're saying All-Stars, maybe think about All-Star movies.
I would stay at All-Star movies. The reason being is All-Star Sports usually has a lot of school groups. Mm-hmm. And giant tour groups.
So you're going to get big tour groups, lots of people in line for the bus all
together. That literally burned us one time. Because of just the nature of school groups. My family, we went real quick for a quick weekend trip down to Disney. And we stayed at All-Star Sports. It was new. We wanted to check it out. We stayed there. Really, it's a cool resort. The All-Stars are cool. So we stayed there. The rooms are very small, but that's okay. Just to let you know. So we get out of Epcot and we get out of Epcot and we go to the bus stop. And what happened was we got in the middle of giant school group. So we just got in line
in the bus
for the
line.
bus. Yeah. What happened was kids were just cutting in front of us who were behind us.
Because they wanted to.
Because they thought they should stay with their group, and the chaperones were yelling at us, and people were yelling at us that, oh no, we're in line. This is my school group.
I'm surprised you didn't say something.
My dad was really upset. My mom was upset. Everyone was upset because we basically got screwed out of getting on a bus right away. Because these people were...
I just think the chaperone should have split up and said,
you
go here and I'll stay back. Right. That's how it works.
So just be wary of that. The All-Star Music and Sports usually have giant high school...
How was the noise level? Were they all running around?
Oh, it was terrible. It was bad. It was rowdy. It was a bunch of teenagers.
It was rowdy.
They're kids, right?
Yeah,
they're going to be loud. But yeah, so it just... Yeah, I would more.
But I mean, if you're looking and you don't know, you know, between, you know, which one should I say? All-Star Movies, All-Star Music, right? Is the other one. And
All-Star
then
Sports.
You know, maybe lean towards movies because we've heard good things.
I've
about
heard
the
really great
experience.
things about movies. I have not heard great things about
Sports,
especially sports.
Yeah.
And I've experienced it, and it wasn't great, to be honest. It was not great. I didn't feel super like I was there, you know. So, you know, again, the All-Stars pretty much just, you know, bus transportation everywhere. You know, for the most part. I think I don't think a Skyliner.
Now, real quick, since we're running out of time, what about moderate? So you already said Riverside, or not, Port Orleans French Quarter.
French Quarter is my favorite moderate resort.
But it also has the perk of possibly having a quicker bus route.
Yes, yeah, and one bus stop. Yeah.
Okay, so that's
you're basically you eliminate
stopping other places.
The like Trinidad, Tobago, you know, like Barbados. You eliminate all of and Riverside is like that too. Riverside has multiple bus stops too.
So that's something to think about with that. And then I think with most deluxe resorts, not all, but if you're on the Magic Kingdom circuit, you usually have the monorail as a perk. The Wilderness Lodge does have the boat. And then... you know, Boardwalk's a great area. Beach Club, Yacht Club, Swan and Dolphin. You can walk to two parks, Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And then if you had to choose between Old Key West and Saratoga, I would definitely say Old Key West is the better option.
A cool perk, you could get to Disney Springs on the Sassagoula boats. Sassagoula River. So that actually connects to the Port Orleans resorts. To Old Key West, to Saratoga. You could get to
Sassagoula.
Right. Yes, Sassagoula.
This is our daughter.
Here's our daughter, Sassagoula Michaels. Sassagoula Michaels. So you just take the bus there to Disney Springs, which is cool. Or boat. Sorry, guys, I'm really sorry. The boat to Disney Springs. It's cool. So that's one perk of staying over in the Disney Springs resort area. Which is Saratoga, Old Key West, and the Port Orleans moderate resorts. I'm sure there's things we're missing, but, you know, basically we've kind of gone over an overview of the transportation options. And again, all of this could be null and void. When you're staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge and the only option you have is buses everywhere, you could, of course, pay for that minivan. So, you know, all of this is rendered mute if you've got money.
Like I said, some people don't mind the buses at all, and we know people that love to stay there and stay there all the time.
Yeah. So there's some cool things you could do. Different things that are available to you. You know, I'll be honest, it's almost worth it to take a minivan to a water park and back to your resort. To there. Because the water park bus system is just, you're going to wait a long time. But, you know, monorail's great, and they're getting new monorails soon, and so lots of great transportation options.
Maybe they won't smell like pee.
Yeah, hopefully not.
That'd be great.
All right, let's end on that note. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that is the transportation overview episode of the Magic in the Midwest podcast, number 23. I am JB, and...
I am Ash.
And this was a great podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. Please subscribe on magicinthemidwestpodcast.bandcamp.com, where you literally get double the episodes. 2 times. Basically, Magic in the Midwest 2 times.
Where you get 2.
Power up. Double.
What?
2.
Where you get 2.
2 cents. No, you get double the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So please, magicinthemidwestpodcast.bandcamp.com. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, wherever you listen to the podcast. All right, from the Midwest. See you later.